All right, I'm all about taking really good food and translating it into everybody's everyday world. And a lot of times, especially for me, that means cooking with children. One of mine, here she is, and this recipe we came up with a few years ago for her little brother, who happens to love Raisin Bran cereal with bananas in it. So I took that idea and I turned it into a muffin, and the result was pretty daggone good, wasn't it? Okay, so in your house, make sure you get your kids into the kitchen and that you're teaching them how to cook, and show them what the ingredients are and what you do with them. So in this case, I'm going to bring you over here because I'm going to put you to work, okay? What we have are 2 cups of bran cereal flakes, and actually this is the Raisin Bran, 2 scoops. If you can't find it or don't want to use it, you can use the regular bran cereal and just add a half a cup or a cup of raisins to it. So we're going to use a cup of buttermilk, and go ahead and put that in there. Not really, honey. In this case, you want to use the bran cereal because it's going to take the place of a lot of the flour. We're not going to use much flour.
We are going to use some.
Yep. We're going to stick our bananas in there. We've got 2 bananas. I often will use 3, and these are great. You ever heard my mother all my life talk about banana bread bananas, and she never made a loaf of banana bread that I remember. But this is a banana bread banana when it's gone really just a little too dark. And if you want to, you can go a step further. All right, you start squishing those up. You can go a step further and freeze your bananas. They'll turn black. When you defrost them, they'll be kind of gooey, but they'll actually be much sweeter and intense in banana flavor. So what you want to do is put your buttermilk and mash up your bananas right into the cereal. And I've got 1 egg. We're going to plop that down in there. And then we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. You got something go overboard. And if you notice, when you're putting your muffins together, you're going to do 2 stages. You're going to do your wet stuff and you're going to do your dry stuff. And you know what the cool thing about a muffin is that it doesn't all have to be perfect. See what she's doing? What's happening is that the cereal is going to soak up a lot of the egg and the buttermilk, and it's going to absorb it. And we're going to let that sit over here and work. And we're going to, you're done. You're good. Just let it be. There you go. That's easy. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do the dry side. Okay? So all I have in this mixer is a cup of all-purpose flour. I have used whole wheat. That's fine if you want to do whole wheat. It's not quite as tender. And one of the things I love about this muffin is the nutritional impact that it has. So I'm willing to go with white flour in exchange for the flavor base. All right, so we have 1 cup of flour. We have 3/4 of a cup, yes, of light brown sugar. Teaspoon of baking powder. Oh, thank you. Thanks, bud. That is 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. That's kosher salt. If you use regular table salt, just go with a beer pinch. And that is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So we have a teaspoon of baking soda, teaspoon of baking powder, a little pinch of salt, and some brown sugar. That's our dry team. And it comes in here, turn it on low.
Okay, is that stir?
Yeah. And you're just going to let those come together. Now the reason you mix the dry things and the wet things separately is because if you dumped them all in at once, they wouldn't come together. The dry stuff will mix up with dry stuff easily, the wet stuff will mix up with the wet stuff easily. Then when we put it together, all we have to do is barely fold it together. Now look here, I want to show you something. It's been damp the past few days. We have brown sugar that has absorbed a lot of water, and we got some lumps here. And that it will take it right out of the atmosphere. I don't care if you've got it covered or not covered or sitting on the counter. Yep.
Can brown sugar also count as a wet ingredient?
It can, yes, you're right. Actually, when you're doing a lot of baking, she's right. That's my girl. When you put together your sugars and butter at the initial stage of baking for a lot of things, say if you're making a cake or cupcakes or any kind of torte, you mix your butter and your sugars together. It's a process called creaming. Now, with a muffin, however, you don't have to be perfect. You want to actually mix it as little as possible because that's what's going to make it tender. So we do want our separate types of ingredients well incorporated before we go further, which we've done. So all we're going to do at this point And you know, you can even skip the mixer if you want to. I'm lazy.
What if you don't have a mixer? Can you do it by hand?
Do it all by hand. I have a problem. I'll be back in a second. Sorry about that. We had a little disagreement between the puppy and the 6-year-old. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying about cooking in the real world, that's what happens, and that's why nothing I do is going to be impossible. I don't do extra fancy. All right, so we still have our wet and our dry. Now it's time to put them together. So what we're going to do, baby, is put all this in here. So scrape that off into here. And we're going to use a technique called folding. Oh, good girl, showing what you're doing. You're good. That's all you need to do. We're going to use a technique called folding, okay? So what you want to do is take your spatula, and you're coming under and around, okay? And the reason is if you mix a muffin batter too much, it's going to make your muffins tough. And we want tender and moist, lovely, fat, fruity. That's what we want. So you see how that only takes a few turns that way to get everybody into the party, and we're all together and we're all incorporated. Look at those beautiful big chunks of bananas.
It's like a family reunion.
That's my girl. Okay, so you know what? At that point, that's good. And if you have a tiny bit here and there that's not all the way incorporated, it doesn't matter. It will take, it happens, it goes away. All right, what's the best way to get muffins when you're wanting to make sure your muffins are all even? How do we do that? An ice cream scooper, that's right. And I have a couple of different sizes. This one's a couple tablespoons, I think. Not entirely sure, it might be one. So for these particular muffins, and this is just experience, I know each cup takes 2 scoops. So we're gonna sit here and we're gonna fill all our little muffin cups. I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. So my girl and I are going to fill our muffin cups and pop these in the oven. They're going to bake for 20 minutes. And we will be back to show you what's next. You want a muffin? You want a muffin?
Those are big.
They are big. I've done these quite often in little miniature muffin pans. Oh, hot, careful, baby.
That's actually.
See? They smell so good. Look, big fat chunks of banana. You see that? And the moisture, these are so moist. It's unbelievable. Absolutely.
Like Jello, they're bouncing.
They're Jello. Now they're very hot. I happen to have. Well, that one doesn't come out. We need a knife. I didn't recommend that anybody do that. I have asbestos fingertips. That means. Oh, look at you. All right, let's see what these look like. Yeah, we'll get those in a second. Let them cool a minute, because you see we kind of switched that one. But look at this. Look at this. Look. All right, I'm going to peel him off. Break him open. I think I'm going to break it open. All right, the inside's really hot. But look at that. See? That is what you're after. And this is an absolutely unbelievable, flavorful. Oh, that's going to burn. I'm going to do it anyway.
Delicious.
That's just good. Did you taste one?
Yeah.
That's not a tat ear. That's all there is to it. I'm eating my muffin.